Keeping venomous reptiles is an unforgiving hobby, requiring proper training and lots of experience. One simple mistake can be the difference between life and death. Remember, the most venomous snake in the world is the one that just bit you. There are no venomous snakes with training wheels. Just because you see Viperkeeper handle snakes a certain way does not mean you should try it too.
I removed the glass from the cage. These are the Perturbothrops cornutus, horned pit vipers from Vietnam. They have a rather odd local name like Fang, Pang, Songs, something like that. You can look it up if you wish. I'm not going to blab such blubber blubber. My tongue is not made of rubber. So you don't often see these guys, and to make it easier for Lori to film and to make your video experience a little better, I carefully remove the glass. So let's see if they're interested in their favorite food, chicks. There's one behind the leaf, you can't see the head, but obviously the head could see the hot chick, so to speak. My head normally can seek out hot chicks too, right, Mrs. Viperkeeper? You're number one hot chick for me. Now that that mouth is occupied, we'll go and try this one back here, and that one back there also is hungry. I didn't feed these guys last week. Oh, we got, this one's doing a little bit of happy Protobothrops, moving its head up and down, just like a Death Adder would. There's not really a lot known about the toxicity of these guys, but I guarantee you they're hemotoxic. They have probably some metalloproteases in their venom, which will cause local necrosis, swelling. Your hematological values will be out of whack, and you'll have difficulty clotting. This may persist for a week or 10 days without antivenin. Although these are from China, Vietnam primarily, they could be close enough to Thailand and have enough cross-reactivity that most top medical toxicologists prefer to use Thai Red Cross polyvalent hemotoxic antivenin, which has a couple of different venoms in it, including a couple of different Trimessurus, which these are closely related. That one back there is just busy chowing down and has totally decided against the happy Protobothrops technique. So now that they're eating, I will hand the camera back to Lori, because this cage is in a difficult spot for her to get into and film with me in the way. And since their mouth is filled, I will carefully and try to quite discreetly reinsert the glass panes without getting bit. Come on. People in previous videos have said, oh, you take many risks. I weigh each action that I take here at the lair quite carefully. I generally have a good feel for what's high risk and what's low risk. For instance, removing the glass from the cage, I consider to be low risk for the most part because I can keep my fingers out of strike range. High risk things I consider is, working, taking out any of the bothrops, working with Mr. Brown. Those are all high risk items, but perhaps everything has to be put into perspective. For me to drive to and from work and travel around the country, I consider to be a much higher risk for my safety. And I'm sure everybody listening has experienced this. Since the pandemic, people drive even more insane than they did before. It's not uncommon that people will cut you off. For instance, I was just driving home with some live mice from the pet store where I get them, and I was doing the speed limit. I was in a residential neighborhood where there could be kids and stuff running around, so I was doing the speed limit of 30. There was a double yellow line, and this person behind me was in very much of a hurry. Even on a blind curve, they crossed the double yellow line and passed me. So I consider being outside my house far riskier than being in my house and working with the vast majority of these animals. Yep. I travel around the country and world for business. That's risky. I'm out and about in big cities where crime is prevalent. That's a great risk, and certainly driving to and from some of these customer sites and venues. I'm in a taxi cab or an Uber, and my hands are in somebody else's life. So everything is a risk. I calculate those risks very carefully. For instance, Mr. Brown, if I change his water dish, his mouth is full, and Mr. Brown is not going to drop that mouse just to go see what I'm doing. I promise you. Once he has something in his mouth, until he's swallowed it, he is not letting go of it. And so quickly swapping out the water dish while his mouth is full, I consider low risk. So that's my risk assessment. It has served me well. I've been keeping venomous snakes now since 1974. I've been bitten twice where I had to receive anti-venom. And all those occasions I was doing what I considered to be generally low risk things that shouldn't have even caused me to get bit. In particular, I did not expect the mamba to launch itself out of the cage in 2014 and have a swing at me and successfully envenomate me. I consider cleaning the poop in its cage low risk, although I was cautious. I had a hook and I had the pooper scooper. The snake had other ideas. So risk is always relative. Even things that you consider low risk could be a higher risk for just because this is the way life is on this planet. You don't live here risk-free. I don't do reckless things like other YouTubers do for attention. I take calculated risks because I don't want to end up in the ER having to use some anti-venom, and I don't want to stress Lori with the fact that she has to take me to the ER and watch me be treated. So I take all this into account. So that's my response as far as risk assessment. Can things go off the rails? Yes, they do. For instance, my friend the Bothrops Jararaca up there. Did I expect him to launch himself out of the cage when I moved him to the water dish? Absolutely not. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it. So, you know, I assess the situation. I know what things not to do, and I know what things I should be able to get away with. And you know, I change some water dishes while the snake's mouth is occupied. Other than that, I wouldn't even think of putting my hand in that cage where the Bothrops alternatus is, the Urutu, and try to change her water dish. I would use the tongs or a hook to remove it. No way, no how am I sticking my hand in that cage. So, at any rate, these guys are chowing down and doing well, and it's time to move on to another cage, and some other happy campers are going to be interested in getting some morsels. Well, I noticed that this female Echis ocellatus' back end was getting quite distended, and so I put a nesting box in there, thinking that maybe she would be laying some eggs, and she's been in there quite a bit. Haven't dropped any eggs yet, but we're keeping our eye on her and keeping the substrate moist in there, so the eggs have a place where there's more humidity for them to be laid in the first place, but also you know, keep them fairly well hydrated before I can remove them and put them in the incubator.